Chris Sewall here, baseball card collector, investor, dealer in that order. Welcome everyone. Regular Rollers time, and just quick channel note, regular Rollers will now be on Wednesdays moving forward. It'll be every other Wednesday, and High Rollers will also be every other Wednesday. They'll sort of alternate, so you get one or the other each Wednesday. But we're going to jump right in after I mention that this week's list is brought to you by Greg Morris Cards. More on them coming up in just a bit. We'll start with one sent by Michael Road. I wanted to share my biggest sports card sale. The sale was a 2002 Topps Joe Mauer Gold Variation graded PSA 10. Rookie, there's only 7 copies of the card in a 10. The craziest part is I pulled this card myself. I purchased a box of 2002 Topps Series 2 around 4 years ago for just $20. After spending a lot on boxes that year, I just wanted some cheap packs to rip and hopefully get a clean Joe Mauer rookie. But after opening a few packs, I was disappointed to find pretty much all the cards were bricked together due to the gloss of the front and back of cards that year. However, I noticed the first couple of gold parallels I pulled were not affected by the bricking. I thought to myself the only way I could recoup my money would be to pull a Joe Mauer gold parallel, but knew that was very unlikely. I was stunned when I actually pulled it. It looked pretty clean, but I was even more stunned when I sent it to PSA a couple years later and they gave it a 10. It became one of my favorite cards in my collection. I decided to throw it up on eBay a couple years ago for a very high price, knowing it would take a ridiculous offer for me to part with it. A couple of days ago, that ridiculous offer finally came in. I accepted an offer of $2,400. I believe it may be the highest sale of any Joe Mauer card ever, but maybe your research department can help me with that claim. The recent Hall of Fame buzz around Mauer certainly contributed to this crazy sale. Mauer was an incredible player, and I believe he will end up in the Hall of Fame. I still have a nice Joe Mauer collection, including a PSA 8 copy of this card, which doesn't look much different from the PSA 10 condition-wise, to be honest. Congrats on that amazing sale. That's an incredibly high sale. Yeah, so, congratulations on that. I was able to find exactly one sale higher ever. That was a 2002 Topps Chrome Black Refractor. That went for $3,000 in 2020. It was a PSA 9, but I believe your sale is the second highest Joe Mauer sale ever, based on the research that I could do. This was sent by George, who wrote, I recently purchased this lot of 1960s NFL Coke bottle caps for $1. They're in pretty good condition, and I have several Hall of Famers in the lot. 3 of the bottle caps are from the rare 1964 team-specific Coke bottle caps. As you can see from the listing title and cover photo, nothing is mentioned about the players, which includes Len Dawson and Don Maynard, or the rare team caps. I'll keep the couple that I want to expand my collection and sell the rest, which will easily pay for the entire lot. Yeah, a nice pickup here, and this is sort of a good lesson if you sort of become fairly knowledgeable in sort of oddball items. That's often where you can find deals, because things like this, most people will just have no idea that they have any value at all, and this is where you can often find deals. It's sort of oddball stuff that the majority of people are not familiar with. Next one was sent in by Brad, who wrote, I picked up this last night on Golden Auctions. It sat forever with no bids in the $10 starting bid lots. I almost skipped, and then the pick caught my eye, and I realized what the card was. If I remember correctly, this is one of the first cards to feature Venus and Serena Williams together, and being a Sports Illustrated card, it really got my heart pumping. In the raw, this card fetches $50 to $100, and graded can go upwards of $500 on some sales comps that I've seen. Nevertheless, I picked it up for $24 and its fees, and all of that out the door. Not sure if I will flip it or hold, but glad to have it. It's a part of my collection. This one's sent by Grant, who wrote, I just purchased this 2005 Bowman Chrome DeMarcus Ware Auto printing plate. I did not know this card even existed, but I was willing to pay up for it. My winning bid was $129.01. This is the first sale of the card that I can find. The base version of this card most recently sold for $60 raw. A PSA 10 recently sold for $425. There's a bronze version of the card out of $50, which sells around $150 when you can find them. And there's also a silver out of $10 version, which I cannot find any sales of. Ware is in the Hall of Fame, as well as a Cowboy, which has a great fan base, and this card is now almost 20 years old. I know printing plates have lost their luster in the last few years, but Ware's Bowman Chrome rookie card is one of his best cards, and this is a 101 version of the card. I plan on getting it slabbed and authenticated by PSA, then taking offers on it, but would be happy to keep it in my PC for a long time. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this purchase. Yeah, I mean, I think you basically nailed everything that I'm thinking. This is a Hall of Fame rookie card. It's a 101. It's an auto. It checks a lot of boxes. It's getting semi-old, 20-ish years now. Printing plates are definitely not popular, but to me, this strikes me as a good price to have paid for this card. This one's sent by Adam, who wrote, I thought this could be a buyer beware comment for your regular rollers video. I came across the listing below while looking up Jordan lots on eBay. I thought the image looked odd and wondered if it's a lot, why not picture all the cards in the first image? After seeing the other photos, I realized the other cards in this lot are more or less Prism commons. I immediately thought back to your comments about people getting around the eBay authenticity guarantee program. Seems like that's what's going on here. The lot went for $910 with 33 bids. I might be wrong, and these could be perfectly fine. But then again, what could possibly be the reasoning behind the other random cards in such lots? Yeah, I don't know exactly what's going on here. I don't know the seller, and I don't know the situation. But I would definitely be cautious on a listing like this for the reason you said, and I've mentioned a number of times before. The listing really makes no sense. It's a very, very expensive Michael Jordan card. It's about $1,000 plus card, Jordan card, and then you have 6 random cards that are like $1 or less. Why would you sell these all in one lot? It doesn't make a lot of sense. The only logical thing that I can think of is because it's a lot and not a single card, you get around the eBay Authenticity Guarantee program, and so for that reason, I would be very cautious whenever you see a listing like that. I don't know if that means maybe there's something wrong with the card, maybe it's a fake, maybe it's trimmed, maybe it's poor condition and you can't tell in the photos. I don't know, or maybe it's perfectly fine. I really don't, I'm not sure, but I would just be cautious and I would sort of avoid listings like this. It's also possible the seller just doesn't want to deal with the eBay Authenticity program and does it for their own sake. But you never know. And again, I would just stay away from listings like this in general. This was sent by Jacob, who wrote, I just picked up a 1931 Allen Steamrollers Don Bradman Records #1. Don Bradman is widely considered the greatest cricket batsman of all time. His career test batting average of 99.94 is thought to be an unbreakable record, with only 4 other batsmen in history breaking 60 and nobody else coming close to his record. The 1931 Allen Steamrollers are one of the more rare cards from his first 4 years of his career, and finding copies without serious damage is even more difficult. Card #1 from the set has only been graded 3 times by PSA and never by SGC. Yeah, I don't know much about cricket, but I did learn about Don Bradman. He is in any sort of big world sport. He is, by his records, are so far ahead of anybody else that I don't think there's anybody that compares in any other sport. He's like he's just so far ahead of anybody in sort of the record holders. I don't recognize this card, but I know he has some cards from I think 1928. So yeah, this is an earlier card of his. Very cool. Next one was sent by Jeff, who wrote, I was looking at Facebook Marketplace the other day and came upon this listing. As you can tell by the white dot at the bottom photo, this was the cover photo for the listing. I was about to move on, thinking this was just a junk wax collection, but I was bored and decided to check it out. I decided to just keep scrolling, and I'm not sure why, but I'm glad that I did. Here's the 5th photo. Now I'm pleasantly surprised and getting excited. Here are some more. Now I'm in for the collection. I messaged the seller immediately, and I offered $80. And he accepted. I ended up selling 2 lots of 1986 basketball on eBay for $450 and was able to keep a few cards for my PC. Nice. Congrats on that. Yeah, 1986 Fleer basketball occasionally gets mixed in with Junk's Wax because it is the Junk Wax years, and it's sort of the one super valuable set from those years. So, yeah, congrats on the find. This one was sent by Lyall, who I was going through eBay and found this PSA Authentic 2006 Steelers Super Bowl ticket with Bill Cowher's autograph for $83 last week. It was a great deal. It's an official Super Bowl ticket. It's autographed by a Hall of Fame coach, plus PSA charges $55 to encapsulate a ticket. I received it and put it right back up on eBay for a buy it now at $155 plus shipping. It's sold in less than a day. In the end, they still have deals on eBay. You just have to be patient. Yeah, and something I mentioned earlier in this video is, if you are knowledgeable or very familiar with sort of oddball items or, items that less people would be knowledgeable about and know the value of, that's where you can often find deals. Here's here's another example of one. Well done. Next one was sent in by me. I was a seller of this 1993 Topps Traded Todd Helton rookie PSA Gem Mint 10, and the Hall of Fame voting is coming up in January, and Todd Helton, I'd say, is very likely to get elected this year. Not a guarantee, but certainly well above 50-50, I would say. And this is his one and only rookie card, PSA 10 grade, of course. And I own quite a few of these as I bought a bunch, sort of in anticipation of him making the Hall of Fame at some point. And it looks to be likely to be this year again. So I figured I'd start selling. This is actually the first one that I've sold. I'm going to sort of trickle them out over the next month and a half or two to see, right around the announcement of whether he gets in. Hopefully, in my case, he does. But sold this one for $102.50. I paid about $80 to $90 on most of these, so I didn't make anything off of this. But like I said, this is the first one I sold, and hopefully they'll trickle up from here. I don't know if that'll happen, but that's my my hope, of course. I sold this through Greg Morris Cards, who, as I mentioned at the beginning, is sponsoring this episode. They're one of the most trusted sellers of sports cards on all of eBay. They have both a graded account and a raw account. This is their graded account, of course, and you can see 51,100% positive feedback. The raw account is even more than that, but they offer consignment services, of course, which I use regularly, and I've bought from them as well. Fantastic overall company for many, many reasons. If you're looking to consign with them or just want to check out their inventory, I highly recommend it. I've included links to all of that in the description below. This one's sent by Patrick. I recently got back into the sports card hobby after being out of it for about 15 years when I used to work at a local auction house. Before that, I collected baseball cards when I was a kid from about 1983 to 1990, kind of early middle junk wax era. What I'm writing about here is a recent PSA and SGC grading experience. In several of your more recent grading reveals in regular rollers, I noticed more criticism regarding PSA's grades. Well, I recently purchased a beautiful 1983 Topps Traded complete set, and like every card looked perfect. There are some definite key cards in the set, but the big one is the Daryl Strawberry rookie. I sent it off to PSA, and 6 weeks or so later, I was quite dismayed to see that it came back a 5. I was a bit perturbed because I could not find anything wrong with it, and I started thinking about the recent doubt swirling around PSA's grading. So I cracked it open. This was the first time I had ever done that, and I sent it to SGC instead. But this time it came back a 3. It's baffling, especially because I sent it along with a few more cards from the set, and they all got 10s. See pics of the Seaver, the Strawberry, and the Keith Hernandez. I know it's impossible to fully analyze by a scan, but I just cannot figure out what they are seeing that I cannot see. I hope these grading companies will someday allow us to pay an optional $10 extra or whatever for an explanation of the grade. I just wanted to share this experience so that collectors well know that a resubmission does not always work out in your favor. Thank you for sharing that. Now, just sort of add to your last comment there. I would say, cracking and resubmitting almost always is unlikely to benefit you. Maybe if you have a really sharp eye and you're dealing with sort of high-end cards, but for the most part, cracking and resubmitting is not likely to sort of pan out for the vast majority of situations. This one was sent in by Steven. It's just a follow-up on the CJ Stroud Downtown, which we actually looked at 2 weeks ago on regular rollers. Steven just wrote, "I'm following up on the Downtown. Check out some recent prices." So this was the listing we showed 2 weeks ago. This is the first CJ Stroud Downtown to hit eBay. It went for $4,000, and there was actually another one just after that went for $4,700. Now that was now a little over 2 weeks ago or so. Just a week later, the card had already dropped down to more like 2,000, or I guess there's 1,500 to 2,600 in here. And now today, the card's selling for 1,000 just 2 weeks after that $4,000 sale. And this is what we mentioned in that one, and I'll say again here. When there's a hot young player and they have a hot young rookie card or a hot rookie card, right out of the gate, it is going to be way overpriced. And this is a clear cut example of that. Everyone wants to be first to market, but often on a card like this, first to market as a buyer is not the way to go. It is the way to go as a seller, of course, but if you're looking to buy a card like this, I would often say hold on a couple weeks or a couple months or whatever, and you'll save yourself quite a bit of money. Or at least that'll usually pan out that way. I guess not always, but usually. And I'll finish on an interesting vintage card or vintage bargain here. This was sent in by John, who wrote, "I picked up this Mickey Mouse, the football player card, the other day off eBay as a buy it now for $60. I don't know much about the card except that it's from between 1930 and 1939, and there have only been 9 copies of them graded at PSA. I like the fact that although football and Disney were far from unknown in the 30s, neither had yet blossomed into the cornerstone American culture institutions that they would become. As a vintage football collector, this seemed like a great pickup for only $60. Yeah, I love this card. I actually have never seen this card before, and that's why I love it. It's very interesting. When I see sort of vintage sports card, I guess you would call this a sports card. I guess it's sort of both sports and non-sports here. But I love when I found vintage cards that I've never seen before. Mickey Mouse, the football player, very cool. And I did a little research on it. Yeah, you're right. There's only been graded 9 times. Obviously, a very rare card. And the price you got here was very good. Recently, a PSA 4 sold for $150. So yours looks to be sort of in that ballpark range. And yeah, just an interesting, unique card. $60, I would say that's a fun way to spend $60. Nice piece of history for the exact reasons you mentioned. But that's it for this week's regular rollers. Hope everyone enjoyed, and whether you are high or regular, keep on rolling. Thanks, everyone.